96.
Happening on your doorstep. The Tuesday special takes the widest of views with a sideways look at psychics and mind-bending hypnotists to a sharp, focused look at bulimia, life on Britain's most notorious street, Cromwell Street, and disqualified drivers. Tracking down real-life stories. A Tuesday investigation at 7:30. The Tuesday special.
Tomorrow's Tuesday special puts clairvoyants to the test. Do they really have psychic powers to foretell the future? Meanwhile, in the present, it's time now for News at 10.
From ITN, News at 10 with Trevor MacDonald.
Voting now in the Commons on the critical motion of confidence. Enemies finally catch up with Dahmer, the serial killer. Tension grows as allies fall out over Bosnia. And how the jackpot will help out with the weekly pension. Good evening. On a crucial night for the government at Westminster, MPs are voting now on the first of two measures on Britain's payments to the European Union. The Cabinet says the government will resign if it's defeated. That now looks unlikely. Up to 9 Tory rebels may abstain, but they won't go as far as voting against. Even so, they'll lose the Conservative whip, and that means, in theory, that the government will lose its majority. Let's go now to our political editor, Michael Brunson, who is at Westminster.
Trevor, you're right. The talking has stopped. The voting is now underway. And as you also said, the government will not lose the vote. But what this does in the way that the country, that ordinary voters perceive this government, perceive John Major's leadership, that may be the real story out of all this, because the bitterness that there's been around today has been very plain for all to see. Bitterness in the party of what the rebels have been doing, bitterness among the Eurosceptics who aren't rebelling tonight, but among the rebels themselves, extreme bitterness. Richard Shepherd in the debate, for example, one of them saying, the government needn't think that by stuffing my mouth with gold or withholding the whip, they can alter the first trust in a democracy between an MP and his constituency. As the day went on, the determination of the rebels seemed to harden. Two of them, Theresa Gorman and Christopher Gill, launched a pamphlet with the provocative title, Not a Penny More, to Europe, of course.
I have never, ever voted for more money for Europe since I have been a member of this House, and I am not starting today.
But opening the debate, the Chancellor said the extra money for Europe was totally justified.
And that increase in the contribution is an increase in the price that we pay for the undoubted benefits of membership of the European Union.
And then began a pretty disagreeable afternoon with the divisions in the Tory party paraded for all to see. Yes, said the Chancellor, there was just one member who objected to the Edinburgh Summit deal at the time, Theresa Gorman. That comment pleased her. But one by one, other rebels began to attack the extra money now required.
It was first of all presented as being a little measure, and then when it became necessary to bash it through with a quite unnecessary element of confidence added to it. And the country began to ask, why are you blackmailing your backbenchers for 75 million?
Well, of course, the Chancellor took issue with that.
I also would not seek to blackmail my honourable friend, but I would seek to persuade him that his conscience, his lifelong commitment to the Conservative Party, and his sense of proportion about this issue and his sense of this country's duty to keep its word when it enters into commitments with our partners in the European Union could still lead him to support this bill tonight with no question of having his arm twisted at all. But